Greetings, I'm Kurt Fonger. Thanks for watching. Today, we're lucky to have a very special guest, John Casilla, Chief Economist for Florida Realtors and an author as well. Plus, we'll be taking a look behind the gates of area communities and more. So let's get started right now.
You say you want to see what's possible in a pool? This is what's possible in a pool. I'm with Larry Rowe of LB Rowe Pools. Larry, this is a beautiful home and beautiful pool in Lake Clark Shores.
Yeah, it is, Kurt. And the whole idea is the customer had a really good architect design this pool, and then we kind of built it with his input, and it came out really nice. You know, it's got the negative edge spa. It has a bar area, sun shelf, LED lighting, misters, marble deck, bar area. I mean, it's it's like a little oasis out here.
Let's start with the sun deck. It's a gradually sloped area into the pool.
Yes, it is, and it's easy for older people to get in and out of. People don't realize that. It's good to lay on and get some sun. It's good for kids to play on. It's just a nice feature to a pool.
And it has a spa.
Yes, it does, and this one actually has a leaning shelf in it, and it has a zero edge on the front made out of stone, which is really nice, and glass tile. It's just a little upper end.
Tell me about the misters.
The misters are nice in summer. You know, it gets 90, 95 degrees around here. The misters are really nice. It's a nice feature, just not only for looks, but it actually cools down the temperature.
We're familiar with misters at theme parks, but this is at a pool.
Yeah, it is, and the prices really come down a long way on them. They're easy to get. People get them on the internet. There's a bunch of local companies that sell them. Very easy to install.
Something I've never seen in a pool before. Eating deck or a bar, what are you going to call it?
Yeah, the little ledge over there actually has seats on it. And there's a lot of houses that have yards that slope off really big, especially on the water. So this is a good way to incorporate the lower deck area with the pool. It works out really nice.
And of course, this has the upgraded pool surface.
Yeah, this is a pebble finish, which is, we try to sell it to everybody, but a lot of people don't like to go the extra money. It's a really nice bulletproof finish, and pebble always looks good. It's a lifetime warranty.
And this is uniquely designed.
Yes, it is. He has a friend of his, Steve, that's a designer, and they really helped him a lot on this pool, and we carried his dream out.
Well, Larry Rowe, it's not free, but it's possible. If you want to get an awesome pool, talk to Larry Rowe, Larry Rowe Pool.
Thanks, Kurt.
Pleased to have John Casilla with us today, Chief Economist for Florida Realtors. John, everybody wants to know what's happening in 2015.
Well, I think, Kurt, we start by what happened in 2014. I
Good
think
place to start.
2014 was a marvelous year. I mean, for real estate in Florida, we saw all the statistics going in the right direction. More importantly, the kind of rapid recovery we came through in 12 and 13 settled down, and the market is in a sustainable niche right now. Sales are going up, prices are going up, but they're not going up by so much that we have to be worried about it. Inventory is a little thin, but still roughly in the balance mode. So 2014 was actually a really good year for real estate in Florida. Now 2015 is shaping up to be an even better year. You know, it's kind of, I'm always uncomfortable saying that because, you know, you come from a realtor organization and
you're
say, things are
economist.
great, it's a great time to buy a house. And I don't necessarily like it, but I really mean this because the influences that are going to affect Florida from the outside are all doing very, very well.
Such as?
We'll see strong GDP growth, inflation will be down, interest rates will remain low. We're going to get a break on oil prices through most of the year. So the environment, the national economy environment, is going to be very good for Florida. The stock market's up, and when the stock market's up, people look south. When the portfolios go south, they look north. But when the portfolios go north, they look south. So we're getting a lot of people coming into Florida now looking for homes. So all these things are shaping up to be really a good environment. And then you've got some wild cards thrown in there, like the expansion of the Panama Canal, which is going to have a tremendously positive impact
Super
on
tankers
trade.
coming
Absolutely. Through. I mean, Tampa, Miami, Jacksonville, you're going to see the port cities really expand, and that's going to be good for the Florida economy. So when you put all that together, we're looking for a very, very strong year for job growth in Florida, for real estate growth in Florida, both in terms of sales and prices. We're looking for interest rates to remain low. We're looking for population to increase. And generally, it's going to be a very positive year for Florida, both for the economy and the housing market.
John, when you talk about the market recovering, you're talking about housing prices going up.
I'm talking about housing prices, yeah. I mean, as far as the world is concerned, we've got, well, measured inflation is very low.
Right.
People who go to the supermarket don't think that way because food prices have been up rather dramatically. There's a drought in California, there's all sorts of things going on. So food prices have been up. But on the other side, gasoline prices are down. So the cost of living for the average household is moderating now.
It's been a big tax cut in effect with the
Exactly.
lower
That's
gasoline prices.
That's precisely what it's been. You know, it's very funny, Kurt, because normally when someone goes to buy a house, they look at two things. What's the cost of the house? What's it going to cost me to get to my job? Okay? And they balance those two things. Sometimes you say, well, I really don't want to pay a lot of commuting costs in both time and money. So what I'm going to do is buy a smaller house closer to my job. Some people say, I really want as much house as I can get, and I don't care how long it takes me to commute. Well, what happens when gas prices go down is that folks now are able to buy larger houses a little bit more remote from employment centers because the commuting costs have gone down.
Sprawl, you're talking
Sprawl.
about. Okay.
So one of the things that's going to happen now is we're going to see people interested in houses that are a little bit farther from the employment centers in the state because then the commuting costs are not as burdensome. And this is another aspect of falling gasoline prices that will affect the real estate market.
And that will mean more construction jobs too, as people
Absolutely.
find it cheaper to
Absolutely.
move away and buy more.
Sure, because folks are going to be attracted to relatively lower priced housing, and in many, many cases in this state, that means new construction. So I think we'll see. The interesting thing is the construction industry has shown the greatest growth of employment since 2011 of any major industry in the state, right? But it also fell the farthest when everything collapsed in 2007, 8, and 9. But construction activity is up. Construction jobs are up. And of course, those workers have to live somewhere too. So, I mean, we're talking about more housing demand being generated by more jobs, and in turn, new houses being created.
It's all good. John Casilla, Chief Economist, Florida Realtors, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kurt.
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Southflhomesandlifestyles.com, a great way to search and find area communities based on lifestyles, amenities, and more. Log on today.
Hi?
We're looking for insurance.
Let's see who's free.
When insurance agents work for only one company, their options are simply limited. But a trusted choice independent agent is free to shop many companies for a better deal. Free to do what's right for you.
Landscaping starts small, but it gets big, and every homeowner knows trimming is a big task. And that's why I'm talking to Joe Floyd at Impact Landscaping, and you plan for trimming.
Yes, it's very important to have the guys properly trained in how to trim stuff and not always trimming to the same old cut and cutting constantly every month to the same cut. Hacking, exactly. It's better to let them, let certain things grow out. Yes, you do want to get tiers or different elevations with plant material, and if it's planted properly and used the way it should be, you'll get that naturally, but you do need to kind of trim so it does get a natural form to it and it fills in. So it's very important that you know how to trim and you do let certain things grow out and not always cut it back to the old cut. You let it fill in.
For instance, we're here at Castellina, and we're here at some new planting. Tell me about how you're going to allow this to fill in.
Well, what we do is we'll let this material slowly grow out, and we'll cut it back to points, and then these bushes right here, and we'll trim them back at certain times, and then slowly we'll let them eventually grow together and create a mass bed so that you don't see in between the plants. And what that helps do is also it eliminates your weeds, because the weeds don't get the sunlight to grow, so your beds become full and thick, and then the weeds don't come through, and the plants have been allowed to grow naturally, more or less.
But the variegated Schefflera will be allowed to grow a little higher.
A little higher, a little taller, but you just, you let it fill in, and you don't overcut it, and you don't keep everything trimmed at the same level.
So be kind when you're trimming and let your plants have their natural shape. Right, Joe?
That's right. And let them take on the natural shape and just cut the long runners and let them fill in and let them grow the way they're supposed to grow naturally.
And that's how you do it.
I can't speak for all Americans, but I don't think the average American would consider this country to be a tax haven. Robert Keats does think it's a tax haven for Canadians. You are the president and founder of Keats Connolly, Enriching Your Cross-Border Lifestyle, and you're the author of A Canadian's Best Tax Haven, the U.S., and the subtitle is Take Your Money and Drive. Why not go to some island someplace?
It's very simple. The islands usually don't work for most families. It just doesn't fit their lifestyle. It doesn't fit everything. And the big thing is that they don't get the tax savings that they were promised. Whereas the U.S. is treaty protected. Between Canada and the U.S., we have a very good long-standing treaty that protects the investors, so they get great tax reductions just under the treaty, which is tremendous tax savings for Canadians. Like, for example, Canadians can come to the U.S. and on their retirement accounts, whether it's a pension they get from their employer or the retirement accounts that they save, retirement savings accounts.
Like a 401k would be in this country.
Yeah, or equivalent IRAs. And they can save from 50% tax in Canada, like for example, the province of Ontario, the maximum tax rate is now 50%, and it's that way in most provinces, but the tax rate drops from 50% down to 15%, and that's treaty protected. So that's a tremendous drop in taxes for anybody on any kind of retirement account. And then they also have great tax reductions on, for example, dividends. If they come to the U.S. and they have Canadian dividends, their tax rate drops to 15%, like 15% under the treaty. If they go to the offshore, the tax rate is actually higher, 25%. And the normal tax rate, and depending on which province you're in, is anywhere between 30 and 40% in Canada, so they can cut their tax on their investment income less than half.
Now, in the book, you say the Canadian equivalent of Social Security also has a big tax advantage there in this country.
Yes, old age security, which in Canada it takes 40 years to qualify for old age security in Canada. And the thing is, if you're successful in your retirement and your income is over $70,000 roughly a year, that you get 100% of that old age security clawed back.
You're taxed 100%.
Tax rate is 100%. But under the Canada-U.S. treaty, if you come to the U.S., the tax rate in Canada is zero. Canada doesn't take any of it, so you get 100% of your pension. And it's just ironic that you spend 40 years in Canada qualifying for it, and you got to leave the country to get it all. And the treaty protects you in that.
Now, in the few seconds we have left, you have to become a resident of this country to get these tax benefits.
Yes, you have to become a non-resident of Canada, which means you have to be a legal resident of the U.S. to become a non-resident of Canada. That's very simple. There's a lot of options there to do that.
Okay. Well, maybe it's true. A Canadian's best tax haven, the U.S. You can find out more about it on our website, Southflhomesandlifestyles.com. Robert Keats of Keats Connolly, Enriching Your Cross-Border Lifestyle. Thanks for being here today.
You're welcome, Kurt.
More to come. Please stick around.
Southflhomesandlifestyles.com, a great way to search and find area communities based on lifestyles, amenities, and more. Log on today.
We're in a lovely home here at Ibis Golf and Country Club with a kitchen that is all torn up. Here's the guy who did it, Aaron Chandler of Chandler Construction. What's going on here, Aaron?
Well, Kurt, we are here today on an actual kitchen remodeling project in the middle. When we came into this project, the kitchen was kind of a white elephant in the home. The cabinets were orange, the countertops were very dark. The homeowner wanted to lighten it and create more of an airy feel. So when we do that, we have 3 options for kitchen cabinetry and remodeling kitchens. Option 1 is to repurpose the existing kitchen, taking the doors and the boxes and painting them to a new lighter color or staining them to darken them up.
Freshening the whole kitchen as is and putting in a whole new appliance set.
Yep, new appliances. We kept the actual doors to the kitchen because they were in pretty good shape, as well as the boxes. We didn't want to change the configuration of the kitchen, so we decided a fresh coat of paint, some new granite, new backsplash tile, and new appliances would do the trick here.
That's option 1. Now what would be option 2?
Option 2 is if the boxes were in good shape and we didn't like the door style. Maybe the door style was a little too traditional or not modern enough. So what we'd do then is take off the doors, purchase new doors, and install them on the old boxes that we once had. And then at that point we could change the color, paint it or stain to any color under the sun.
And that really modernizes the kitchen look.
That would change the whole feel, because that would allow us then to change our crown moldings, our under cabinet light rail moldings, and do some really cool stuff with lighting as well.
And option 3 is blow it all up.
Gut the place and start from new. So it gives you 3 good options, and especially it saves you a good amount of money too when you decide to keep the boxes and the general floor plan, because then we're not getting it changing out flooring and the whole atmosphere of the kitchen.
And of course you're an expert in this because you see kitchen after kitchen after kitchen and you can give good advice.
Absolutely, yes. What we do is we take a look at the decor in the home and kind of go from there and decide if we want to lighten it, darken it, if we'd like a more of a transitional style, more of a modern style, and a quick visit to the showroom, pick out some doors, some colors, some granite, and we're on our way.
Aaron Chandler, Chandler Construction, thanks. If you have a kitchen that's outdated, you have options.
You know this is a great time to buy a home because mortgage rates are at historically low levels. But is it a good time to refinance your home? Well, I have somebody that may have that answer for you. Janine Henry of Group 1 Mortgage. Is this a good time to refinance your home?
It could be, Kurt. Rates are, lower. We just had a nice little dip. And we've also had improvements on FHA loans in the monthly mortgage insurance rate. So for a lot of people, they can, save a couple $100s a month by refinancing right now.
Is there a rule of thumb of when it's a good time to refinance your mortgage?
Normally I like to see about a point improvement in the note rate. That said, with the combination of maybe a half-point movement in the note rate and a half-point improvement in the mortgage insurance rate, it may make sense for a lot of homeowners to refinance now.
And that's the calculation that you can do.
Absolutely. I can calculate their savings and calculate a break-even point on how many months it will take them to cover their closing costs and start to really accumulate the monthly savings.
Mm-hmm. Let's say a viewer is watching right now and then watches the interest rates on the internet and calls you and says, I need a refinanced mortgage today. Janine, today.
I wish the market were that incredibly steady and stable. Mm-hmm. What would be better for the homeowner to do is to really establish a reasonable target rate, talk to their licensed mortgage professional,
such as you,
such as myself or one of my colleagues at Group 1 Mortgage, and get their paperwork in order, get their application in place so that if the rate they desire does show up and it's short-lived, we're in a position to lock that rate in for them. Oftentimes with market fluctuations, that rate may be here for you today, but not tomorrow.
But it can't happen at all unless you have the paperwork in first.
Correct.
And then how long can you lock in a rate?
It depends, Kurt. We can do 15-day locks, we can do 30-day locks, 45-day, 60-day locks. But remember, time is money. So you may be able to get, let's just say easy numbers, a rate of 4% on a 15-day lock. But if you need a 60-day lock, that might be 4.25%. So really, for the homeowner to have their ducks in a row and have their paperwork in place, it really enables the loan officer to be on top of the market for them.
And it all starts with the paperwork first.
Absolutely.
Janine Henry on Group 1 Mortgage. Thanks for being here talking about refinancing.
It's my pleasure, Kurt.
This is the warehouse of two men and a truck. I'm talking with Joel Dolly and, of course, Truckee, and we're talking about factors that you need to consider when picking a mover.
Well, there are a number of very important factors. The reputation of the moving company that you're considering is very important. Of course, cost is always very important. Just a minute.
This must be a short consultation in this interview. Yes?
Well, Truckee's reminding me that you should be real.
Okay.
Now, I know Truckee is a mascot, and he's not a real truck.
An awesome mascot.
But Truckee reminds us that to be real when you're selecting a mover. Pick a real mover. Get a mover who is licensed. Get a mover that has a real location in your neighborhood, in your area. Find someone that has a location in Palm Beach County or the Treasure Coast that you can go to. I recommend sometimes that you even call and ask if you can come visit your mover prior to you making your selection.
Because if you come in contact with a middleman, you may have some problems down the line.
You can go online and get a broker that's going to set up a move, and it may sound pretty good, but you've got, like you said, the middleman involved, and much more likely that there are going to be problems when it comes time to doing the move. And you want to make sure that the mover that you're using is nearby so that if there's a problem after the move, you know who you can talk to and where you can go to get that resolved.
And you can look them right in the eye.
Very important.
And we're here in a real warehouse with Joel Dolly and a real awesome mascot, Truckee. And you can find out more on our website, Southflhomesandlifestyles.com. Joel Dolly, thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
This is John Juritzma. He's the Director of Sales and Marketing here at Ibis Golf and Country Club. John, I've been here dozens of times, but this is new and it really surprised me.
Oh, thanks, Kurt. What you see behind us is a brand new sports village. About a year and a half ago, the Ibis members voted on a $33 million construction project to our amenities, to improve our amenities. And what we're doing here, what we opened about 4 months ago, is our brand new sports village that consists of a 2-story, 15,000 square foot fitness center, a poolside bistro, a new dining area. We have a brand new spa, a new aquatic center with a lap pool, a kids splash zone, and the members just love it.
And a major expansion of your clubhouse.
Yeah, we're actually adding 23,000 square feet to our current 50,000 square foot clubhouse. So it's we're gutting it, we're enhancing it and enlarging it and adding a brand new kind of casual sports pub with a 25,000 square foot terrace, a brand new ballroom, new grill dining, fine dining, and room for our cultural spaces.
That's a lot. Tell me about the history of Ibis and how sales are going.
Well, sales are going great. You know, we've been in the area for a long time, but the whole country club model is changing, you know, and we have a lot more younger members joining these days, and they want these types of amenities, you know. It's no longer golf driven, and those that want to play sports like golf and tennis, they want to play longer. So you need to add things like Pilates and spinning and yoga.
So you're always seeking to add new programs here at Ibis?
Always, and we have about 20 clubs within the club. We have the Ibis Cultural Association that has a photography club, the volunteers, the cooking club, the performing arts. They do off-campus events, so there's always something to do here at Ibis.
Ibis Golf and Country Club, you've got nature, you've got tennis, you've got this, and of course you've got golf, always something to do.
In a real estate transaction, there is real property and personal property. Don't get the two confused. That's what our Juris Doctor is going to tell us about. James Chiaffi, our Juris Doctor.
Hello, Kurt.
I love the stethoscope.
Thank
it's a
you.
great look for you.
Thank you, and I love the bow tie, Kurt.
Well, I have to tell you, normally he's wearing a bow tie, but in deference to me,
yes,
long tie. My apologies.
My respect to you.
Tell us about personal property and how some people try to scoot through.
Especially nowadays with real estate taxes increasing again, some people want to shelter the value of the property by designating some to real property and personal property. So very often a buyer will say, oh, I'd like to designate $50,000 toward the furniture and content, when in effect there's really only $20,000. So a seller would have to be cautious about designating an inflated value because the Department of Revenue and the IRS can audit a transaction, and if they feel it was some type of a sham transaction, they can levy penalties and interest. So you really want to be sure it's a fair market value for personal property.
So in a typical transaction, you're having maybe the washer and dryer and the refrigerator.
Appliances.
What are you talking about the inflated personal property?
Well, I've seen cases where a buyer might suggest $50,000 for when their appliances are really worth $10,000. So you really want to be careful and avoid that situation.
And some other odd personal property claims?
Yes. It's so interesting about what is personal property and what's not personal property. Usually if something's movable, it's personal property. Well, we had a situation where a gentleman purchased a mansion on Palm Beach. So imagine going to the property for the walkthrough, looking at the exterior of the mansion and noticing that the 2 lion statues that were on the top of that roof are missing the day you go for the walkthrough. Okay. Who would have thought that those lions would be removed from the top of a mansion? They were. There was a big dispute about it. Those are movable, so technically they could be considered personal property. But I always recommend list whatever you consider to be personal property and more. So if you're not sure if something's personal or not, it should be listed on the contract. Playground equipment, that can be moved, but some people would assume it stays. Potted plants, you could have huge 100-pound pots and assume that that's going to stay. Once again, that's movable. So we want to make sure if you're a buyer that you list those potted plants and those trees and that playground equipment and anything else that could possibly be moved.
What about things that are built in, like maybe a microwave or some
That's
cabinets
considered
or
a
desk?
fixture, so that would stay with the property.
Okay. So, but mostly these people are trying to
avoid having to pay
avoid the
tax.
What would red flag that for an IRS audit?
Well, the actual Department of Revenue is more likely to come across that situation because they audit the deeds, and 2 or 3 years later they might contact a seller and say that they want proof about the value of the property. And in that audit they can determine then that there was personal property and real property, investigate the personal property, see that it was artificially inflated, and then levy penalties because it should have been really part of the personal property. Documentary stamps that are due on that sale price.
Sounds like a good case of getting some advice from attorney James Chiappi.
Thank you,
Juris
Kurt.
Doctor, thanks.
Appreciate it.
There you are. We certainly covered a lot of ground today, so we made sure to have all the details and video available to you online as well. It's all there, plus great community search tools, market data reports, expert tips, cross-border information, and the list goes on. All you have to do is log on to our website, Southflhomesandlifestyles.com. Oh, and be sure to check out our YouTube channel too. There you are. Thanks for watching. I'm Kurt Fonger. Have a good week.